chat. Too many talents, can't waste them, yeah, that's big facts. Making kingdom moves, standing on business like me, Shaq. Aiming for our goals, click, clack. Moving forward, no need to reach back. Tell me where I need to preach at. Tell me where I need to speak at.
All right, my man, we are back with another episode of the CROWNEDCAST. Always with me is my co-host, Mr. Joel Ngulu. Always fresh. And today we have another international episode, which I'm so blessed that we have the reach and capability to talk to people all over the world that are doing great things. You know, this woman is a podcast host, a business coach. She's everywhere in the world and can travel anywhere in the world whenever she wants to. Her words, not mine, but we're honored today to have Miss Valeriya Hjertenaes with us joining the CROWNEDCAST. Valeriya, how are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm also blessed. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a really pleasure and honest, both Joseph and Joel. And I'm very blessed to be your second global guest, like
The third.
A third. Oh, but you know, then it's Holy Trinity.
You're in the top three.
Top three, it's even better because Holy Trinity, you know, and we have a joke in Norway. I'm proud Ukrainian. I've been living in Norway so long that all good things are three. And actually, they said the third one is best because they also joking that Norwegian men first they marry Norwegian girl, then Asian girl, then Ukrainian girl. I don't know why, but probably Ukrainian the best or the first from the end. I don't know. But thank you so much for having me and they giving me the most precious gift. It's our time. It's the most precious commodity which we really can share now. So thanks God we met each other. Yeah. So thank you for having me on your beautiful show. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we appreciate you for coming on. We know it's not easy. Quick question, what time is it over there? I know the time zone is a little bit different.
Yeah, we have, it's 21:20. It's 20 minutes past 9 in the evening.
Wow.
That's like I shared with you. I was first toward my faculty, then I was hosting the podcast with beautiful soul from New York, and I promised her to actually mention. Oh my God, and now I'm a guest, so it's cool. I'm ready.
Well, I love it. Like I said, I do work in Africa all the time, so the time difference is always a little bit different. But I do appreciate you for coming on here. I know it's a little bit late for you.
What time? It's 6 hours or 7 hours?
I think it's about 7 hours. It's 2:21 over
here. Yeah.
So so I appreciate you. But yeah, let's get right into it. So tell us. I like to begin the testimony. What is God? How did you find God? Did you grow up in the church? Did you grow up Christian? Did you find God later? Tell us a little bit about your testimony. When you first found God?
Thank you so much for the question, first of all, and probably the moment when I found the first time, I cannot say that I remember, but I remember the time when it was kind of confirmation. It was the challenging period, probably many times. Maybe it was automatically because I've been brought up in Ukraine, and actually my grandparents on my mother's side, they're Russians, and every summer I went there, and my grandmom, she was very into religion, and she taught us, me and my cousins from young age about Jesus and God. And for me, I believe all the family was like that, and that it was normal that before we went to bed, like my grandma, she taught us to pray, and every single day was about that. And I remember her special writings, and I don't know why, but she also told me that one day you will be grown up. I would like to deliver some special knowledge that I have. I was little, I didn't understand that much, but I remember we used to live every summer in a small village, and my grandma, she always had especially in the morning. I remember some family with kids who has struggling, and they came to us, to our house. She was like a healer, but by praying for them. It was nothing like, you know, occultic sites or something. No, it was just because for me it was like when I was small, I was just curious. But when I grew up, so actually I became myself very interested in that. And she's like, Valeriya, but this is praying, this is about God. And for me it was very like divine moment. I always felt the connection. But what is interesting in my case, that the challenging time actually started when I was born, because I made in Soviet. It was communistic time. It was not allowed to baptize me.
Wow.
So actually, one couple, they kind of, they had to put themselves in a risky situation. Actually, it was criminal. If you are doing something with God, you can be put in jail. So they had, when I was 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, baby, so they had to take me and drive to even more distant village to have this holy ceremony, right? I didn't know that, but my grandma, she insisted on that. And she made it like, you know, it was not her, but because I don't know why special tradition should be another person's family. But they did it for me and for my cousins, and we were just few who actually, our family decided, despite it was so risky, right? And when I grew up, my grandmom, she gave me a course. I can show you, it's true. It's very special course for me. It's nothing but metal. I don't know, it even maybe not $1 deal. It's so, I mean, it's metal because we were so poor. It's even not silver, nothing like that. But it's the same course which I've got when I was 2 weeks age, right? And for me, it's the most precious thing ever. Whenever I go now all over the world, I have this purse. Believe me or not, okay, it's my path. I have to have it, right? Otherwise, some like maybe and I have this course.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you imagine this one? This year I'm turning 45 years. This one is 45 years.
Wow.
Right, and it's nothing like, but for me, it's the most precious. It's holy stuff, and I also have some stories with that. So it was like later was confirmation, especially when I moved to Norway, because Norway, it's actually a country where maybe especially now young generation, 80% they're atheists. They don't go to church. They don't go they don't practice it. I don't know, but I'm still, after so many years, I do believe in God, and I'm so proud my kids as well, and I'm following the path of God. So this is the story. So I'm the first day, like you asked me, maybe it was not like really turning point that I waked and I didn't, let's put in another, I don't remember my life without I was walking with him.
No, that's good. Thank you, Grandma, for being obedient to God and taking you.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a blessing. No, it's good to hear, because like for me, like I'm the same way. I grew up like that. I got people ask me, when did you get saved, or when did you find Jesus? For me, it's like I feel like I just remember growing up like that. It was a part of my life, like, you know. So it's good to know. Everyone has different stories.
Yeah, and there's different levels through that relationship. It's like I knew God, I believed in God, but like the practice wasn't necessarily there. I love, hearing your story of like having to leave where you're from to go to another village to like have that ceremony. We live in America, we're not over in Europe, right? So we hear those stories, and like you said, you're 45, right? So that was 45 years ago. That's not that long ago that you had to be taken to go and do that. We take so much. I think a lot of times Americans, we take so much for granted because we were here and God and country were, synonymous with each other. People are trying to change that now, right? But there's a level of risk to your relationship with God. And I think that's so beautiful. Like, it's more precious. I feel like it means more to you when you have, like, there's the potential of like losing your life or, being shunned. So that's incredible. And even where you're at now in Norway, right? Like most people are atheists, right? Not being influenced, standing strong on your faith. That's what we're all about. That's what Crowned is, right? Like that's what being a God-fearing man or woman is standing on faith regardless of what people think or how they may judge or whatever, right? That's just what we're called to as Christians. And it's going to only get worse, right? So I love your story. Same way, I grew up with my relationship with God. I can't remember when I didn't have God. In fact, I don't think I did, right? But there's different levels to it. So that's awesome.
No, that's good. Can you share, like right now you're a creative, like you're a traveler, entrepreneur, you're a business coach, do all that. Can you share a time whenever like maybe you're growing up like sixth grade, whenever you try to do entrepreneurship and you can kind of see now that God was setting you up to what you're doing now? Can you share like a time when you were younger? Like for me, example, I remember I used to go to flea markets with my mom, and I was the person to go out into strangers selling like cheap toys, and I didn't care who it was. But I didn't know God was preparing me the whole time to be in sales. So now I grow up, I see like, oh, when I was younger, I was always doing this. And I can see that journey now. But for you, can you kind of share a couple stories whenever you were younger growing up into how you're the woman today?
Perfect question. Maybe it's not like I'm trying to put it on my direction, focus or angle. It's like maybe I would like to share even more personal story. Then it's maybe not about that much entrepreneurship, because yes, of course, I believe God is always with us, and everything he's doing, like he's behind the scenes. He sees the whole picture, right? And now sometimes especially when the war broke in Ukraine, sometimes you are so challenged to miss the faith, right? Because you don't see again the perspective like a little bit further, but you then at the same time it's the time when you can actually you are tested how much faith you have, right? Because then sometimes it's not that easy to get the confirmation all the time that God is with me, because you are through all different ups and downs in your life. And first, when you look at them so close, so you believe just adversity, nothing is bad. And this is the moment when actually you really have to even more trust in God, because he knows what will be further for you. Because we in very close relationship with God or with your partner or with your friend, it's not about all the time talking and be loud, right? Because it's also sometimes actually just to listen, to try to rely on faith, and to get these answers in silence. Sometimes we need we all the time, if you talk to him, if you ask him, we are all the time so busy. So then how we can find the time actually to see his signs and to listen something? Because then it's just monologue all the time. It should be dialogue, right? Or there should be place that actually there is a place in your life for everything God plans for you. And sometimes you have to trust. And now I believe that all my steps in my life, because it was not that sweet and colorful childhood I had. My parents got divorced when I was 7 years old, and I had a very challenging upbringing. I don't want now to use the time and to say that okay, because my father he was, I feel very pity for him, because he was alcoholic, right? But I believe now it's a disease, it's addiction. And in Soviet time, 90% of men actually had this addiction, and we didn't have that much awareness that this is actually a disease and how to help these people, right? So I believed he was very depressed, and it was kind of his only path he could choose. But of course it was very bad impact on me, and I got the childish trauma very much. But I believe, because I believed in God, and when I came every summer to my grandmother, I saw another side of this life, right? So which gave me much hope and faith. And I always believed in God. And My dream was since 16 years old to come to do everything, because I was brought up in quite poor family, right? We didn't have that much opportunities when I was a small kid, but I wanted very much, with help of God, to study, to work hard, to pursue my dreams, but for one day to come and make my dreams come true. It's to save at least a couple of kids. I didn't want them to have the childhood I had, right? So I wanted to adopt kids, and most probably kids with special needs, because they are not that popular to adopt, if you understand.
Right.
So I believe, because I was so always trustworthy on God, that He knows, He leads me what to do. And in the real modest world, where a lot of now materialistic things, and we are all the time driven that we have to have more, achieve more, buy more, all that, this unhealthy tendency. So I was clear from 16 years old, no, I want to do that. I want to build my path to do something very good back and given, and I was trying to listen all and to like get all the signs from him. How can I do it? Sometimes I really had just to trust that special voice. And for me it was confirmation, like I was 30 years old, and I started collecting the papers for the adoption number one, because I already lived in Norway, but every single summer I was back in Ukraine, and I was very much into charity with two special orphanages for kids with special needs. And I did a lot of volunteer job, and I helped financially. But then I decided now it's time. I can now have my documents. I would like to adopt a baby. And and for me it was like, many people in advance ask me, like, but how can you choose the baby? How you would like a boy or girl, white haired, black haired? And this I said, first of all, I already know that God, He already knows, because kids, they are not a pair in stomach. They're actually babies of God, angels, and He already knows who actually is supposed to be my angel baby from Him. It's not my decision at all. Actually, it doesn't matter if I have it in my stomach or in the heart. It's just God decides who actually is will be sent to you, right? So I said that it's already decided there, and I know I will get the signal. That's for sure. And many people, especially in Norway, they believe I was crazy. Like, this Ukrainian, then it's crazy. Like, what kind of answer is that? I said, but I'm not buying a car with engine, with color, it's not like you can buy and then turn back, right? It's your kid. It's completely another story.
Right.
But also I had to believe that He knows better. But I knew that for sure. It was not like even subject that I will get the signal, right? And what's happening when I came that specific summer and start collecting the papers, and I said, but can you still work every single day in special group? It's babies from 0 until 1 year. But they said I have still some exams in Norway to deliver, so maybe I come half a year later, and then I can be more prepared to actually adopt the kid, because it's kids also with special needs. You have to devote all your time, right?
Right.
And I love this story. Like, if you plan something, right, you really believe it, but then He has His own plans, and it doesn't work like that, and you have to have faith, right? And I know this. I don't know why. I was wise from that young age. I knew that always, that He decides. I need to listen just sometimes. And this moment, this minute, I actually pronounced that. And then this lady, she was a beautiful teacher, but also psychologist, and she was in charge of this orphanage. She said, Valeriya, but let's go. I will show you my babies before you actually decide and go. I said, no, you know, I don't want, because I am so easily fell in love, and maybe because they're sick, I will be crying, I will be depressed. She's like, no, the babies, they're sleeping. They're just from 0 until 7 months. They don't understand anything. And they're sleeping now. I was like, oh, okay, my God, I need to trust in you. And I went in this room, oh my God, and long story fast, but anyway, I saw one special baby, and 1 month later, actually, I arrived, and again said, no, I'm not prepared, because it's a lot of documents process, right? But I can start working, and the very first 10 minutes, I arrived to the room where all these babies, it was 42 babies, and this lady, she in charge of the orphanage, she told me, Valeriya, now we have actually today priest. And you know, because we believe in Ukraine and in Russia that if you don't baptize first 40 days, so the guys, the babies can have bad luck. And actually, in the old days, it was not allowed to have any people visiting you until baby actually baptized, because it's kind of bad luck, or they're crying. It's still this a lot of traditions. And she invited, actually, because these kids, nobody baptized, nobody has like God parents for them. Right. So he said that I invited this special priest. He's now singing special songs, and he will put some holy water on babies. It was exactly the moment, like one of per 10 years maybe, I arrived the room, and she's like, so cool. So maybe he can also put some holy water on you, and maybe it helps you to find your baby. When she said, I sit and you have no idea. I'm arriving there. I was like, and she gave me another baby. Like, oh, look at her. She looks like you, dark haired Anastasia, just 3 months. Totally healthy baby, just arrived yesterday, blah, blah. And she is giving to me this baby, right? And I'm sitting with her, and this priest, he's approaching me, and he's like, Valeriya, let's pray together and put some holy water in you. And I know this. He was actually very surprised, because I knew this Bible verse, and we were praying together. And then he took so much water. I was like in shower, basically. He put a lot of water on me, and then I opened my eyes. Everything was like wet, and I opened my eyes, and I looked to another baby close to me, and I was like, oh my God, but who is that baby? And they're like, oh, forget it, because she's sick, she will never walk, she will never talk. Her mom used a lot of heroin and a lot of story. But you know, at this very period, it was 1 millisecond from God, that's it. And now, you see, it was 16 years ago. Uh-huh. Now this baby walks, talks, speaks 3 languages.
Wow.
Yes, skating, skiing. Man. It's not that easy, of course. But this is confirmation. I mean, this story, it's changed. I knew they were in shock, like, you know. But this is my language. How I talk to him. I'm listening his. I'm watching his signals, listening through their actions, through the people, through the Okay, long story, but I think it's very important.
No, that's
maybe it's not about entrepreneurship, which
forget all that business talk. I'm going to go ahead and preach today. We're not going to get into the money. We're going to get into the motivation. I love that. That's huge. That's a bigger story of faith that you have, right? And that God has a plan for our life. We want to do all these different things. Like you said, there's my plan, then there's God's plan. But the entire time, God is like, he probably laughs at us, right? Yeah. Like, you're going and doing this, and you're on the right path, or maybe you're not on the right path. And he directs us along the way. You know, I always say, like, nothing happens for no reason, right? Like, nothing is ever happening on accident. We like to plan things. We like to have these different ideas and ways that we want to go throughout life. But God's hand is on our life. You know, at our events, I talk about how God has a purpose for your life. Whether you're not in your purpose or you're executing your purpose, God has that purpose for you. And so you may be in a season of like not knowing what you need to do, but that's exactly what is going to help you understand where you need to go, right? So that story, yeah, it's about your kid and choosing it and having that faith. Like God's gonna, provide for me, and you can understand when God is talking to you, not like it's Valeriya's voice, it's God's voice. And when you can understand that and you know the difference, that's powerful, because you can walk in faith, in direction, in purpose. So amen on everything you just said.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love that. How, like, I guess when I'm talking to like a young entrepreneur, the question is all the time, how do you hear God's voice or his calling? Like, what do you do? What are steps? It's different. I mean, sometimes God can send people. It could be a dream. It could be a vision. It could be an experience. But like, sometimes we don't know how to access that. And I feel like God always wants us to access him. He always gives us access to him. That's the reason that Jesus came, because he's access to the Father. Like, if you were talking to like a young person, like how can you give them advice to, hey, how can I hear God? Do I need to turn the TV off and be quiet? Do I need to go somewhere else in the wild? Do I need to just go to church? How can you give someone encouragement? I know there's not one right way, but how do you do it? How did you like hear God? Because I hear your story right there. You talked about a lot of testimony, but the key point is what Joseph said was, I heard God's voice. I heard his calling. I heard his purpose. I hear the signals. But how did you learn that part?
I think it's also another brilliant question, because I had to question myself, first of all, how I can deliver this knowledge and spread the faith and hope to my kids, right? Because like I mentioned already, society here, 80% is like, they're atheists, and maybe they just go once when it's Christmas Eve to the church, and but then like culture, it's more about gifts, about again materialistic things. It's for me, even I discovered, like I felt a lot of challenge when I moved, like because for me, actually I in the childhood, because of Soviet system, it was not allowed for us to celebrate Christmas at all. We didn't have it. We had instead like New Year's Eve. It was big thing, but not that. But in Norway, thanks God, they have still tradition. It's from old generations, but now all became so like totally about business, advertisement, a lot of gifts, all that. Actually, the whole meaning behind that, it's totally like eliminated. And for me, because I could be able to take my kids back to Ukraine every single summer, and we live actually close to the church, right? So they know, maybe not here, but we go often to church, and my mother, and actually maybe they even didn't understand, but when they were babies, when we have also kind of tradition, when we drive past by church, so we always do like that. And I remember that when Michelle, she was a baby, she couldn't speak that much, but always she knew that when we drove, and when we even came back to Norway, she did like that. And then I was teaching them, and maybe the most important, I teach them that God actually is love, and it's in everything, and the most important, it's in your heart, because this is unfortunately a lot of traditions, and a lot of traditions when they are protected so eagerly, so that what can actually establish conflicts, because it's how you practice it, how many times you do that on the left side or right side, or a lot of, we know, unfortunately, because of religion, because of actually traditions and maybe customs people have created, we have so much conflicts in the world. It's true. And I'm trying not like really put them artificially, just like that or just like that, because it's already then they know two culture, they're multicultural, right? And if I have to say to them like, no, you have to be Protestant, just like Norwegians or just like Ukrainian Orthodox. And now after the war, it's Russian and Ukrainian Orthodox. And of course, if you're just so much focused on the mechanical stuff, how to show, right? Sometimes you don't need to show. You have to speak inside. Maybe it's how you establish your connection with the God. And actually, it's like all other connection. As much as you practice, as closer connection becomes. And how you do it, or you go silently on the walk in the forest and talk to him, or you go even not talk but watching and trying to ask him, lead me this way, or just actually trying to find the way in silence. Because how you can hear his voice if you're always disturbed by noise? And now it's noise all the time, from social media, from we are bombarded, like 24/7 for so much bias, noise all the time, like and if you don't practice the muscle, like connection, and and friendship, and connection with God and your good friend, you have to practice it. And then how you practice it, but you have it's about consistency. It's not about perfection. It must be like that. No, you can find yourself. Maybe you 5 minutes in the stillness every single morning. God, I'm with you. I know you lead me today. Thank you. Maybe the most also to be maybe through great gratitude, right? It's so important to be gratitude for small things, because God is in everything. It's I have a lot of discussions, people that like atheists, they're like, okay, but if you're saying the God is, but nobody has seen him, like and now we in this era of knowledge and scientific developments and everything, and they said, do you live in God? I said, yeah. I also said, yes, I do. And but how can you could never see him? Nobody has seen him. And then I'm asking the people, even very like radical. I said, excuse me, do you believe in love? They said, yes. I said, have you ever seen love? Have everybody seen how love looks like? No. Right? You cannot touch. You can. It's the same. But I want to make just small joke about actually that, because I believe I was talking to you, Joel, about this. My favorite TED talk, because I'm preparing for TED talk now, and I love these books. I have like TED talks. It's how you should prepare, but very nice, actually funny book. And Sir Ken Robinson, he has led his talk maybe about actually how school kills creativity in kids, like 18 years ago, and it's the most reviewed TED talk ever. But why I'm talking now, because it's so related to our subject today. It was one girl, she didn't want to do a math or something. She was drawing. She was 6 years old. And then the teacher asked her, like, I don't remember, Sarah or maybe Maria, what are you doing now? Why are you not doing math? But you're like, I'm drawing. But and then like, okay, what are you drawing? The picture of God. And then the teacher said, but nobody has seen him. How you can do it? And she's like, oh, wow, really? Then they will do in a minute, right? Because she said, no, how can nobody have seen him? But she was like a kid, but I know how my God looks for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I teach my kids that the faith, you have to carry it always, even when you can't get like evidence really, like every single day, when you really like crave for confirmation. But faith, you taste it in the waiting season. It's there. You have to trust, right? Then you build your resilient muscles, through the hardship and everything, and just trust that this is small pictures, no small puzzle. You can't see everything, but behind the scenes, he's the greatest. He knows the path. So, but how you technically do it, it's your own way, as long as you live with these special values, with that much love and trust. And the most, actually, I don't know, it's always like the most difficult things, it's in most easy things and otherwise. Like you want just treat people how you want to be treated, right? So and actually when they grew up, so I also talked to them, and they asked me about the mom and giving a birth and everything. It was the time to actually reveal that they have been adopted and everything. And I explained them two things: you can be a mom, everybody can be a mom, and real mom. And you can no and mom you can no you can give a birth and you can be a real mom, because you can give a birth to 10 kids and never become a real mom. And otherwise you don't need to have kids in belly, but God decides. I explained that real mom is who actually God decides that.
Yeah, it's your heart. It's who you are.
Yeah.
It's not about how much kids you have. If you're not there for them, then you're not being a real mom or a father. It's more about you being present. And there's a lot of stories like that in the Bible of kids being adopted, and then that was their spiritual father. That was their that was their father growing up physically as well. So no, I love that. I just love your heart, because like you really want to listen to God. You don't want to go right or left. If someone tell you what to do, you really want to take it back to God. And I think that's important, especially whenever you're in ministry and business, because a lot of times it's the waiting season. A lot of times it's the majority of the time you're like figuring it out. You're trying something, it's not working. You're trying something, it's not working. But at the end of the day, God, it's the whole puzzle. But the key, what makes you have peace, what makes you like keep going, that hope, is that listening to God, like going back to the garden and going back to that moment where it's you and Him only. And it can be different for everybody. And so everyone asking the same question. I'm always like, it's different, but you got to find God is speaking to you. You got to find, well, how is He speaking to you and what works for you. But also understand it could change. So also be open to new ways of God speaking to. But I just love your heart in that, because that's key. And that's not in America. There's a lot of people who go to church, preach the gospel, but they don't listen to God, and they call themselves Christian, but they're doing a lot of good things, but they're not doing God things, what God asked them to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Is like we struggle with that here in America, to where like we go to church, we put on our costume of being a Christian, a believer on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday we turning up and acting up, and sometimes religion can get in the way. That's what you said, right? You didn't say it, but you said it without saying it. Religion can get in the way. Religion can be beautiful too, because the tradition, the practices behind it should expedite that process for your relationship with God, right? Like I'm Catholic too, right? When we drive past a church, we do the same thing, right? Like we do that. But it's like you almost have to like rewire your brain and understand like why you're doing those things, right? Because it's all about that personal relationship. It's all about that connection, right? Just like you're talking about with your kids. Well, how does your relationship grow with them? You got to be present. You got to communicate. You got to invest into that relationship. It's no different than any other relationship, right? It's just God, right? It's at a whole nother level. It should be treated so much more serious. But that's great advice to give to somebody. Just listen, be still, cut out the distractions, and invest into that relationship with God. Just as much as we're investing into our businesses, our projects, we're investing into our brand, we need to invest into God at a whole nother level, tenfold, right?
Exactly.
That's great advice.
Okay, well, I'm going to shift a little bit if you don't mind. I know you listen to God and it's all great stuff, but even Elisha, David, Moses, they were into a moment where they were depressed, they were mad, like, God, where are you at? Like Job went through that, Can you tell us a time whenever you were doing great, you started being successful in your business or in ministry, whatever it is you're doing, but give me a hard moment whenever it was so hard, it was rock bottom, you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, but it's only through God. And how did you get out of that? Can you give me a story about that?
Oh yes, plenty of them, because it's not that flourish and everything like I put it or we discussed. But even my podcast, it was born last November, the idea, and believe me or not, and in that time I was in mental institution.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very big story, and I'm very open about that already. It's baby podcast still. Okay, I'm very productive, 42 episodes, but the idea came there, and because I'm now very passionate advocate for neurodiversity, and you know what, it's emerging dimension of diversity, because it's very aligned with what I'm doing in my life, being diverse myself, and I'm taking industrial PhD about diversity management, but mostly it was about culture and gender. But now even I'm changing my subject. I applied for a new part in my PhD. I will be one of the few first researchers who has actually been myself neurodivergent, with OCD. I'm like empirical test rabbit, and also I'm making research on that. So as you understand, maybe, so my life, it was not always that easy. And first time when I actually became really depressed and sick, it started like depression, and maybe it was not proceed childhood trauma, and a lot has happened later with me, but first time it was really so painful period for me in my life. I was 30 years old, and usually I used to take myself together, pull myself together, and believe in God and prayed, and it helped, because I believe my challenges and issues with depression, a little bit ups and downs, was since I was a kid. But somehow I always found actually a way, and it was many times through the church, through my talk with God, and I prayed, I believed, I had special, maybe even more, just my way. I found how I can go to the church and do that and that and that, and a lot of his charity. But when I became 30 years, I don't know, it was just the period when everything just went even worse and worse, and I couldn't help myself at all. So at that time, I went to Ukraine, back from Norway, and first what I did, because OCD, I don't know, have you do you have any awareness about that? Because it's spectrum, it can be different levels, of course, because we all have OCD and we are joking about that, but it's not just everything to make it like, to control everything, because it's about intrusive thoughts and rituals. Right. And if you don't apply for the therapy when you have just thoughts, so it can develop and can really, really be disturbing and actually damage your life so much. And I remember my one started with intrusive thoughts. It was so devastating, because at that time I used to work as a charity volunteer in the orphanage, and I was in the middle of the plan to adopt my baby, and my very first picture was that I'm damaging a baby. And for me, it was like major crisis in my cognitive, I don't know, machine, because for me it was like, because I didn't know anything about intrusive thoughts. Now I know our thoughts, our impulses, emotions. It's common. It's fleeting. It's not us. It doesn't determine us. It just challenges us, but that's how we need actually really at that moment to have faith in God, because when they're so active, aggressive, and they're bombarding you all the time, your mind, it's like, the one thing you have to believe really strongly, that even that pain, even that period, it's somehow he knows it's his path, but it will be again through this maybe adversity. You can transform, you can handle it with faith, and somehow it creates you even stronger, even more resilient. It's just hardship actually show you the strength of your faith, right? So when I got this into the thought, I was so, and I felt myself so guilty. First thing I did, I ran into the church, and I probably was there like 48 hours. I believe, because I became so bad person, I believe, it's something wrong with me. Maybe next step will be I will be hurting kids, and I start talking with priest, and I've been through this procedure. I don't know how it's in English when you no, how does it go, testimony, when you talk about all your things, like like
Yeah, your testimony.
yes, because we don't practice that much actually in Orthodox. We don't have it, but people who is really into religion, they do that. And I did it at least once per year, all my life. So I knew exactly what was it. But he saw when I just ran into the church crying like hysterically. He didn't understand what's happened, and it was actually not the time to have it because it's special after special service on Sundays or something. But I said, dear, I have to do my testimony. I'm so bad person. I don't know why I'm so punished. I know it's kind of special symbol or sign, but I didn't understand why, what for. Right, because I believe why it was my biggest dream to come and do something good for kids and adopt, and now I became almost criminal because now I saw my intrusive thoughts was I was damaging a baby, right? So I was 48 hours in church, and actually this priest, he helped me a lot. He I don't think that he knew that much about OCD. Actually, it was even in Ukraine and Soviet, we didn't know much about that. But he gave me a lot of leading thoughts about God, again about believing, again about faith, that everything what has happened still. The puzzle of the greatest plan, right? It's how he talks to me, and I have to still believe, and not maybe, but it was also again the time when I had to make a choice, right? And I still of course made a choice through the God, and I didn't question or doubt, because even not funny things, but it's coincidence or not, but when first time I saw my kid, and you remember the story about water and the priest.
Yep.
So everybody tried to talk me against to adopt this kid, because they said, oh, now it's impulse, now you're just kind of it's your passion, obsession, but maybe after a couple of years you will be awakened, and you will be accusing us why we didn't stop you, because you will be young lady with a handicap on your hands and all that stuff. And they really threw me from an orphanage, say go home and take a rest 1 week and come back, and we put you in another group. And what I had strictly to the church after 5 minutes, and I came to the same church, and I don't know, I was like staying and crying and I said, God, please, why everybody now, all who has wise kind of approach in life, they are trying to take me away from this decision. But why I feel inside my heart that this is the most right decision I have to do in my life. So can you please support me and give me a sign that this is the right thing I'm doing? And can you imagine? And I was like crying, and we have special tradition to put candles before special icons. And I know some icon, because I am born 4th of December, and in our religion it's the day when Maria was first time taken into the church. And usually it was my symbol, my icon, where I put the candles. But at that period, that 10 minutes, I was so cried. I was like, in very special conditions, that suddenly I understood that I was putting the candle. It's not my icon, which is I used to do all the time. And I just decided to look, okay, what name is icon. It was True Hope and Love, this, and their mother Sophie. And I was like, and in our religion, this very special icon, and we celebrate in our church the day of this icon. It's the 30th of September. And can you imagine, when I was there crying and put a lot of lights, the second day I returned back and I said, no, I anyway, don't waste your time. This is my baby, and I will do everything. Please help me then to actually provide me information how to make all this official stuff and a lot of things. And then it's actually not allowed. She opened the file because she last chance she wanted to use to tell me, no, Valeriya, her mom like that and father like that, and like last chance to scare me to the death. And then I look suddenly on her birthday, and she's born on the 30th of September.
Wow.
And this is the day which showed me the icon yesterday. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I was like,
that's confirmation.
100,000%. And I was like, oh my God, she is born on this day. And she's like, yeah, this is a special day. It's through hope. And I said, I know. And I know the icon, which I was crying yesterday, put in a lot of candles and ask about signals. Thanks God. And now I know.
Wow. I love that, because you have the gift of for sure evangelist, because you're marketing and talk to anybody, but really prophetess. You really hear the voice of God for every aspect, not just the big stuff, the little stuff. You go to God for everything. He's like your best friend. And so I love to continue doing that, because that's amazing. Because think about like David, his brother Samuel came, all the brothers were tall, handsome, they look good, but David was like, no. What about this one? What about this one? And everyone's like, no, he's the outcast. He's the child no one wants, but that's the one that God used, and that's what we sing about today, King David. So like you and your daughter, everyone's no, it's not gonna work. She's special need, but look, she's walking, she's healed, but it all comes from hearing the voice of God, of which that's what you're good at. So please continue to do so. Continue to dive deeper. I love hearing it, because that's a crazy, amazing story right there.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. You were talking about preparing for a TED Talk. I think that's incredible. When are you planning on doing your TED Talk?
Actually, I have already even the subject and the title, and my title will be From OCD to PhD.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Imagine I have 2 master degree. I speak fluently 6 languages, right? And soon my PhD, where also is about neurodiversity and me being neurodivergent with OCD, and sometimes so severe that I have to be in mental institution. And I had the contact with Professor Lawrence Funk at Stanford. Now they have a special kind of research and study all together, because it's a new subject, new emergent type of diversity. Or we always had it, right? ADHD, OCD, autism, all the spectrum. But now finally we decided it's just another type of wiring of your brain. It's like biodiversity. It's so brilliant. It's beautiful. It's how we can survive, like also people all together, because our brains just wired differently. We don't need all of us to be neurotypical. It doesn't work like that, because all the creation, invention since technical revolution, all the time it's actually happened by people with neurodivergence, like Nikola Tesla, like Beethoven, like Einstein, all us, Musk, Bill Gates, you name it, right? So my advocacy now more that we have to change narrative and talk with our kids even from younger age, that being different that way, it's not to be broke, it's not to be disabled, it's not disordered. Because for me it will be TED Talk, like I already said, it from OCD to PhD, and it will be like, it's not disabilities, it's different abilities or divergent abilities. It's not weakness, it's uniqueness. It's not disorder, it will be disorder. But where it's a good question, because you have actually to have coach or mentor, and I already wrote 2 TED Talks, and I have one brilliant guy. He lives in New York, Dennis Kenney, maybe you know him, but he's also a professor at the university, and he is in charge of actually mentoring people for TED Talks.
Very cool.
And, believe me or not, actually, it's so funny how I found him, because I'm also modeling sometimes. I'm advocating for sustainable upcycling fashion, and I wasn't big photo shoot in New York, and this guy, he has 2 dogs. They're so lovely, and after the grooming, hour he walked them. And suddenly, because it was a very big team, I was posing like a model, and it was 5-6 persons assisting me, and I was like very posh and everything. And they found, oh, now I need to have very special dog. And suddenly we just borrowed his dog, and he was like Louis Vuitton after grooming. I was standing there, and of course we changed the information later. And suddenly I found out, oh, this guy, he's that and that and that. Of course, but it's God. It's not coincidence, right?
Right.
And later I was like, Dennis, come on, now you and me, we are parents for your dog, and your dog, Mambo, his name, he will be in a great photo shoot, maybe for a Vogue or something. And then I found out, oh wow, he's professional, he's public speaker, he's Blue Ivy Leagues about public speech. And I asked him, privilege, can you please be my mentor for TED Talks? And he's like, Valeriya, of course, let's do it. So, but first I want to prioritize now on my PhD. It's number one. Because I postponed 1 year because of war. I have my parents, they are refugees here with me. And because my 2 kids, I have adopted 2 kids. They have special needs still, and they're also neurodivergent. So it's my priority number one. Thanks God, he gave me those beautiful angels, and then will be definitely. So guys, if you have nice ideas when I can, from OCD to PhD, and you can support me, we can.
Absolutely, you have our support. So I asked because I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see you speak and just have everybody hear your heart. And I know that's a passion of yours, right? Talk about the neurodiversity and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So we'll be on the.
I will invite you as soon as I know the platform, because Dennis, he is in charge of TED speakers, I believe, in Harvard. So of course this would be big privilege. But I trust the God. He knows. God knows where. I don't know yet, but he already knows. And the day he gives me the message, I will deliver to you guys.
Yeah, keep us with I definitely want to see it. If it's live event, definitely. If you send me the tickets, I'll definitely try to make it for sure.
Yeah.
in time. We
go to Europe for any possible reason. That's I don't care where it's at. We'll make it happen. Where can everybody find you on social media, YouTube? How can people connect with you? How can people watch you? Where can they find your podcast? Give everybody your socials.
Yes, I immensely appreciate that question as well, because now I really, as you understand, I was not like in the craving of monetizing something when I decided to have my podcast, because when you are actually in mental institution in your PhD, so the last you think actually, but when I discovered that maybe the power of my private storytelling, maybe me being a real role model in this very filter mask curated Instagram or social media world, because if you go to Instagram, you believe, oh my God, this girl, she has never problem. How does she possibly know about? But when I talk to people, yes, but actually you are my guest today, right? But actually when I start podcast, I was in a mental institution. Then everybody like, what? Because my advocacy, I'm always it's 3 topics. It's always like childhood and the impact of childhood on our adulthood, on mindset, because I do believe we all from there, right? And then of course about diversity, we talk about career and everything, and then last part always about neurodiversity. It's my big passion now, and of course I do believe in the power of storytelling, the ripple effect, that I'm open about that, because I don't look at that now at my weakness. I actually believe it's God gave me actually God to use it now like a message, like it's my calling to say it's strength that I can be so open about that. Mm-hmm. Look at me, I have this, but you have to have faith, you have to have resilience, hope, and try to find. Even with that, I found why, because it was so painful, I was almost suicidal. I was so close to that, and even then I believe there is more, there is some mission in that. I have to use it. There is somehow I have to use it. And then now I believe this podcast platform, because my podcast is called Diversity is the Game Changer. And people now kind of, when I ask, they a little bit different because they believe just DEI, which is backlash and all that stuff. But I said it's actually how you name it and everything, just labels. But I'm mostly talking about being the beauty of being unique, and about neurodiversity. It's just uniqueness of our brain wiring. It's in every single person is unique voice. So please, I have my podcast on YouTube. It's Diversity is the Game Changer, or Valeriya Hjertenaes, but it's a little bit difficult surname. On Spotify, and I have LinkedIn, of course, just Valeriya Hjertenaes, also their presence, and Instagram. It's Mrs. World Congeniality. It's another story. It's also a big story, which I won this award 2 years ago in Las Vegas. Again, maybe just being myself, just being open about all my strengths and vulnerabilities. So I have a lot of platforms which I love, that I can spread my message actually through all these platforms. That look at me, I maybe, if I just can give somebody more hope and faith, that you when you're dead down, like, sometimes maybe your faith is just like a seed, but it has to grow. But sometimes, but seed we put in soil, it's dark, it's cold, it's not that attractive first. But when you nurture everything around, like we talk, practice your relationship with God, right? So then you can actually start growing through the dark and cold and soil, and then suddenly you can see the light. But when we are there, like seed in this soil under the surface, sometimes it's so painful, it's so dark, you're just in bubble, and the more scary, probably, you believe you're just on your own. But then you have to believe you are never alone. You have God, he's always with you. And you have so many people who also by these faiths are connected and praying for you and love you. Because when I meditate, pray, I do it for all people, not just for me, not just for my family. Like, if it helps somebody with my vibration, of course I do it for other people. So people have to know that they are not alone.
Right. Yeah. No, wow, you really like I said, it's like a seed. I mean, even everything you said today, it really encouraged me. I love that you're a warrior. Whenever it gets tougher and tougher, it seems like you persevere and you don't run away from the challenge. You actually run to it and you thrive on that. Just your whole testimony speaks on that. So thank you for that encouragement, because it encouraged myself today. I'm pretty sure it encouraged Joseph too.
Absolutely. And Valeriya, before we go and end the podcast, what we like to do is we like to have our guests just say a quick prayer, pray us out. And is that something that you'd be willing to do for us, for the CROWNEDCAST family?
Of course, it was maybe a long time ago when I was actually praying loudly with when the war started, I was praying, very much with my kids, with my parents. So let's today pray the Lord together, and just remember that he's always with us. We have to cherish our faith, and I do believe that by filling our hands, we can take, but to give much love, faith, and being with God all the time, it can fill so much our hearts. So let's pray for his glory and being with us. And I really, really pray for all people can be blessed with free, liberated world, that every single kid in my country, especially in Ukraine, when they want to go to church, they can actually go without being bombed and killed. Let's pray for every single kid in this world can be safe and actually can be clothed to God, and if they want to go special place, like I always could freely go and be with God, special places for me, even without church, but it was very special places. And now many kids now they are taking this possibility in my country and in other also countries, not just Ukraine. So let's pray together for for this blessing to be free for our kids and actually for everybody. Thank you. I don't know, maybe what it
Amen.
makes. I was not prepared, but it
Amen.
just came exactly to my soul now.
No, speaking from the heart. I know we put you on the spot, but amen. Thank you for saying that.
Can I ask you before we wrapping up, because my always when I wrap up with my podcast, I always play a small game because I start with childhood, but always wrapping up with this little beautiful tough beauty. She's my companion here, like, you know, because I do believe in magic, I do believe in God, I do believe in magic, and you know from which fairy tale, right? Yes. So it's kind of also you can pray, you can, but I always ask my guests when last thing before we say bye everything, that I'm not granting like 3 wishes, because she is a little toughy, but she always promised to make at least 1 wish. Then I'm always asking the people like, okay, what would your wish be? It can be anything, like, you know, for me, for you, for the whole world. It's almost the same. Maybe you ask me, but in the prayer lens. But what you guys, if it was your lamp today for 1 wish, Joseph, what would you wish for?
I'm gonna have to respectfully decline. I don't believe in magic. I give all things to God. But what I pray to God is that Crown it becomes global, just as we're doing right now, and we continue to unite kingdompreneurs together, people that are creatives, and we unify and we go and we impact the world with our gifts, our God-given abilities, and our talents that we don't use and utilize every single day. If you knew that God was truly in you, you would go accomplish so much more. So that's what I pray to God each and every single day. Joel, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't believe in magic. I know it's real, but I just pray to God, and that's then the Holy Spirit. But my prayer is pretty much what Jesus prayed in Matthew 33, 633, no, 17, Matthew 17. Pretty much when he prayed in the garden that let the world be one, that how he the Father and him are one, so the world knows that he sent him. So my prayer is that Crown's a platform to do that, but my prayer is that the Church of God unites and that the world can see the power of God through his, he gets all the glory for that. And so that's the same prayer that Jesus gave in Matthew 17 is my prayer.
And then I say, Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, Miss Valeriya, thank you so much for spending time with us. We know it's late there, halfway across the world. We appreciate you. And this has been another episode of the CROWNEDCAST.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bless you all. Thank you, saying all my blessings. Thank you so much. It was really, really great blessing. Thank you.
Bless you too.